Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Blackberries like to climb. Today we're going to build a blackberry trellis. Also, you can grow vegetables in your kitchen with hydroponics. We're going to go over the basics. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mr. D, and Stefan Leonard will be joining us later. Mr. D, it is a windy day out here today, don't you think?
It is a blustery day, as Winnie the Pooh would say. Definitely blustery out here.
It feels good though.
Yeah, it does. Feels real good.
Now, we have our blackberries here, and I understand that you're gonna make a trellis for the blackberries to climb, right?
They're starting to run a little bit on us, and we're going to give them somewhere to go.
Okay.
We're going to give them somewhere to go.
So where do we start with that?
Yep, let's do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this is what I've got in my yard. We've got T-post and a livestock panel. So, I mean, they're alive. So it's livestock, I guess, right?
Right.
So we're gonna put a post on each end.
Okay.
Raise it as high as we can. 2 posts in the middle, so because there's going to be quite a bit of weight on it when these blackberries get full grown.
Okay.
And we don't want it to blow over.
Sure.
And so we'll have 4 posts and a 16-foot livestock panel, and
wow,
we'll be in good shape.
All right.
Ready to get to it?
Let's get to it.
Okay. I'm going to start. The first post. We'll kind of determine our starting point, and then we'll measure it. We'll do a little measuring from that point on. And as tall as this post is, I've learned that instead of setting the post up like this and trying to get the post driver on it, it's better to do it. Put the post driver on it first.
Smart. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be hard to reach way up there.
Hope I can reach it. So we got it up here. So I want it about 4 inches off of where the plant's set.
Okay.
So I'd rather get it a little bit too far off than not enough. I want to make sure the posts are all turned the same way.
Okay.
And I think that's going to do it. I'm only going to put it in the ground to that anchor point right there. We need a tall guy here.
Yeah, I know. You need me to hold it?
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. Come
on. Okay, we got it in enough. I want to make sure I'm kind of going straight.
Whoa, look at that.
How about that?
Look at that. Oh, lean it over a little bit. Ah.
All right.
All right. Good stuff.
Check it again.
Check it again.
We need to do a little bit with that.
Yeah, that's
still needs to go that way a little bit.
Yeah, this way.
We have another tool that's going to help us on the leveling. When we mount the livestock panel on it, we can adjust it just a little bit if it needs it, but let's see how close we are. Not the same. It wants to go that direction, so we'll need to pull it over a little bit when we hook the livestock panel to it. We need to go 16 feet. 16 feet over here. That's about where I want it.
Got it?
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh,
perfect there.
Yeah. Watch this one. Ah.
Okay.
I think that did it.
Okay, let's do string. Okay, the string is a fencing technique to make sure all the posts are in line. If you're building a fence, you'll go to your corners, you know, and put your post up and stretch your string and then measure off, you know, the distance between the posts. So basically, I'm putting up a fence right here.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I've seen guys for the fencing company do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, the
Okay.
trusted knot. Okay.
Now, we need to put the other two in here. So let's see what it looks like with my tape measure.
Okay.
Got 4 posts, but we're gonna have 3 spaces, right? Let's go 5-2.
Okay. That's 4, 2.
I'm gonna go 11-2.
How about that? Little change in your pocket, huh?
Yeah.
5,
I learned
2.
that trick from a golfer I saw on TV one time.
You gonna start in this one? 5-2, right? 5-2.
5'2". 5'2".
You get it?
Now I'm gonna take my quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's it.
Okay,
You get?
about right.
Yeah.
Don't run off my quarter now, buddy.
I try not to go too far with it.
All right. Hard work's done. Okay,
Okay.
come all the way up. I'll hang it right there. But these are standard T-post fasteners.
Wow, how about that?
It's a pretty strong gauge of wire, and it's, again, designed to hold livestock, so it ought to be able to hold this blackberry. So I'm gonna hang one here,
Okay.
and then we'll go down to the other end and hang the other and arrange the blackberries, and then we'll
Okay.
try to get the rest of the
Gotcha.
way. Perfect
Got-
fit.
How about that? How about that?
You can make it fit. These are the 2 hardest ones, by the way.
Yeah, the first 2, right?
Uh-huh. Think I was using the wrong pliers.
Oh man.
These are called fencing pliers
Oh, are they?
for a reason, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, these fasteners are pre-bent to fit on the T-post, and you can use them for any kind of fencing. You can use it for American wire, and with these pliers, you just grab it like that right there, grab the loop, and then I'm going to twist the pliers, and it's going to put a bend in that wire. And then I'll come to the other side, and using the side of my pliers, I'm going to grab that and just bend it down, crimp it down. And that's secure. That's very secure.
All right.
Okay.
Is that the last one?
Last one. I
How
think
about
this
that?
ought to do the trick. Little fella on there. It's the one I've been looking for anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, that looks good.
But this, I mean, you can work under this. Let's go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and give these a little help right here.
Okay.
They've been waiting for that.
Oh yeah. Nice fruit on there too.
And in just a few years, this will be one solid mass of blackberries, and you'll wonder why you planted them. Too many.
Well, look, Mr. D, we can't thank you enough for this demonstration, man.
You're most welcome.
This is good.
Best of luck to you.
Systemic.
And that's usually in reference to how pesticides move through the plant. That's what it means. So if you have a systemic insecticide, that means that as you put it, it's soluble enough in water that it can actually be taken up through the tissues of the plant and translocated throughout the plant to give that insecticidal or fungicide or whatever it is, you know, to protect that plant against the disease or the insect.
Okay.
And herbicides do that as well.
They do.
You know, glyphosate, Roundup, it translocates, so it's a systemic herbicide.
All right, Stefan, let's talk a little bit about hydroponics.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show
Oh, sure,
today.
sure.
Hydroponics is really kind of a new term that's kind of come up.
Okay.
But it's an old technology that's existed for actually centuries. But it's basically growing fruits and vegetables in water-based in a water-based system.
Okay.
Whether you have a soilless media or you just grow straight in water.
Okay.
But basically, hydroponics is having your root system in water, and you're providing those basic nutrients that the plants actually need to grow. It's a faster way to grow your items. It's very controllable as long as you control the pH, you control your light, and you can actually have it in a smaller space. And you can actually grow those items that you want a little bit faster and more manageable.
Ah, that sounds pretty good. You familiar with the hydroponic systems, Mr. D?
I've seen a little bit of it. I've seen hydroponic tomatoes. I saw some hydroponic strawberries in a greenhouse one time, and it's always been very interesting. I mean, you grow them in the middle of the winter.
Oh, absolutely. Hydroponics allows you to grow year-round as
Sure.
long as you have those conditions. You can grow outdoors. You can also grow indoors as long as you have those conditions and you can control your conditions. Most of the high producers grow strawberries, and what they do is they elevate their strawberries so that way they can actually produce more, harvest more, and then they have a consistent yield and can produce more during the year.
That's pretty good. All right. Okay. Now, what is aeroponics, though?
Aeroponics is similar to hydroponics, but instead of actually having a pump system that continuously runs water, aeroponics has a timer where it mists the water onto the soil's roots, and then it cuts off. And so you're actually using a little bit less power, but you actually have the same growing power.
Wow.
Ah,
I've never heard of that.
yeah, I never heard of that either. Okay. All
There's
right.
less water too.
Yes,
Maybe
less water.
Okay. Now, what's going to be the pros and cons?
The pros
using the
and
systems.
cons. The pros are you can control your water, you can control your temperatures, you can control your lights. You're basically controlling the atmosphere. You don't have to deal with Mother Nature. The cons are you have to have a power source.
Okay,
And
right.
if you do not have power, you do not have anything growing once the roots get dry. So you have to have your roots wetted all the time.
Wet.
Excuse me.
Okay. Right. Wow. How about that? Okay. Now let's talk about. You said nutrient solutions. So what are we talking about there?
Basically, it's a nutrient solution that's going to give your basic nutrients. You know, you need your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium, but there's also 6 more basic ones and then 7 more additionals, the 13 that you need. So basically, you have a solution that provides the key nutrients that the plants need to grow. So you don't have to worry about if the soil's gonna provide it for you because you're providing it for them because there is no soil. You're putting it in the water solution and the plants uptake it into its foliage.
Okay. So soilless media then.
Soilless
You
media.
said we don't need the soil, right?
Yeah,
So soilless media.
absolutely. A lot of the medias that you use is really just a placeholder to keep the plants upright. So that way it has something stable while the roots are connected into the water, pulling up those nutrients to grow.
Well, how are these plants supported most of the time?
Most of the time, you can use like a rock wheel where the
Right.
roots just grow through it and
seen
it
those.
just absorbs. It's like a sponge.
Right.
That's how rock wool is. Or you can have little beads that actually just lets the roots grow through, but it actually holds the plant in place.
Kind of like soil.
Kind of like soil.
How about that? Okay. Now speaking of the seeds, now are we doing that from seed, or do they need to be, transplants, or how
It's
does that work?
better to actually do it from transplants.
Ah, from transplants.
Yeah,
Okay.
you start your plants off more so in like a rock wheel little tray, and then you get them going. Once you actually get your plants up to its first true leaf,
Okay.
then you can transplant them into the system.
Probably pretty easy to transplant too when you
Oh,
grow them
absolutely.
in the water. And
Because most times if you have them in the Rockwell's trays, you can just break things into the cubes and put them into the cups. And then that way the roots are already going down to the moisture.
Ah, makes sense.
pretty neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. Now, and you mentioned earlier about pH. You know, Mr. D and I talk a lot about pH.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about pH balance.
pH, for your system, you need to have your pH between a 5 and a 6.
Ah, okay.
And that way, because when your system's running, you don't want your pH to be out of balance. Even if you have those nutrients that your plants need, if your pH is off, then your plants will lock out. And even if you have those nutrients they need, they will not grow. You'll have more issues with your plants. You have to have that perfect pH for the roots to actually uptake the nutrients and continue to grow.
Wow. So between 5 and 6.
Between 5 and 6.
Interesting. Okay. Now, what about sunlight, though? Because we need those plants to grow, right? We
Absolutely.
need some sunlight.
Sunlight, you basically have to mimic the sunlight. I mean, because if you're actually having your hydroponic system indoors, just like you guys teach us in the Master Gardener class, you know, you want to have your sunlight closer so you won't have your plants tall and stringly.
Right. That's
you
right.
know,
That's
so
right.
they won't die off. So you have to have your certain amount of hours, depending on what you're growing, your lettuces, your strawberries, your tomatoes. You have to have those same amount of hours of sunlight that they need outdoors.
Okay.
So you can actually control that indoors with your grow lights.
Well, somebody learned something in the Master Gardener class.
Yeah,
How about
I know.
that, Mr. D? What about that? Now, what about preventative maintenance? Okay.
Preventative maintenance, for most of your hydroponic kits, you want to actually dump the solutions every week so you won't have too much of a salt buildup.
Okay.
Because your plants could be taking one nutrient more than another.
Right.
And so that means that you have excess of that nutrient that's not being used. And if you keep on putting more nutrient solutions in, then it'll be too much of one nutrient that
makes
could
sense.
kill off your plants.
Okay.
So it's recommended each week that you actually dump it out and start over with fresh water with the perfect pH each week. And aeroponics, it's a continuous loop system where you won't have to actually worry about that until after you harvest.
That's pretty good, huh? So you clean the system out,
Clean the system out
Each week.
and refill it up with fresh water.
fresh water. Okay. Now, what do you use to clean the system, though? I mean,
You actually don't. You just have to dump it out.
and that's it.
Absolutely. Just flush it
Just
real
flush it out.
good and put fresh water in there.
Wow, okay. What about yields? You mentioned a little bit about yields.
Yields, you'll have more consistent yields.
Okay.
Because you get to control the temperature, you get to control the sunlight, so you can basically speed up the yields, and also the conditions will be better. For example, strawberries, you won't have those outside in the elements.
Right.
So you're gonna have perfectly looking strawberries because there's nothing in there to damage them.
Now, there's certain vegetables that work better in the hydroponic system than others that you would
Absolutely.
recommend? Okay.
I would recommend your loose leaf lettuces. That's something that's going to be a quick turnaround. I would not recommend anything that grows underground. You cannot do your radishes, you can't do your potatoes, but anything that's going to grow above ground, you can actually do. Tomatoes, you can do your peppers, but your peppers may not taste like peppers. You probably won't have the heat because you're not going to be able to dry out and get the heat into the peppers. So.
Okay, something to think about. All right. Definitely want to ask you about this. So what about any disease problems or any insect pest problems that may occur?
Hydroponics is just the same. You can actually have those same diseases that you have outdoors, but you can control those. For example, you're not going to have your moisture on your plants because your leaves are not getting wet.
Right.
And so a lot of times if it's air control that'll help you out with your hydroponic system.
Okay.
Circulation of air keeps your plants stronger.
Right.
So you want to have some type of fan system for circulation inside.
Okay. Wow. Stefan, appreciate that, man. That's good stuff.
Oh, no problem.
All right. Thank you much. We have a birdhouse here tied by pieces of rope, as you can well see. If you look here, the rope is actually cutting into the tree. Now, this can be very dangerous to the tree because it can weaken the tree and leave it susceptible to fungal diseases, bacterial diseases, or insect pests. So what we're going to do here is we're going to loosen the rope. We're going to tie it back. And we're gonna make it just a little looser this time. And I'm sure the tree will definitely appreciate it. You can see here how much this rope has been cutting into the trunk of this tree. If you're gonna decide to tie a birdhouse to a tree using a rope, make sure you check it every year just to make sure you're not weakening the tree. All right, here's our Q&A session. Stephon, being a master gardener, you help us out, we get in trouble here, all right?
All right.
All right, here's our first via email. What are these things that suddenly appeared in my flower bed? Will they harm my plants? What should I do? And this is from Miss Carol right here in Memphis. So, what do y'all think that? I know Mr. D knows what that is. Look at him taking his glasses off. Look at him. So what is that, Mr. D?
I think it's a slime mold.
It's a slime mold.
and there's actually a slime mold.
Oh, here we go.
The name is called dog vomit. And that looks like dog vomit slime
That's
mold
what
to
that
me.
is.
Some of that does, but it's a fungal organism
Yeah.
that's growing on organic matter in the mulch.
Yeah, the mulch.
And it's not hurting it won't hurt your plants or anything. And you know, you can go out there and pick it up or take a broom or a rake and rake it and sweep it and move it if you want to, but it's really not causing you any problems. It's just kind of unsightly.
And it actually goes away after a little while. You know, it's just there.
Of course, if you've got a dog,
Oh, no.
you may want to double check and
Right.
make sure it's attached to the mold, because it might be dog vomit.
But yeah, that one, I've had that in my flower beds in the past. You know, it goes away after a while. But, you know, the fungal spores are in the air. So anytime you have warm weather, high humidity, and rainfall,
It's going to
you
happen.
know, it's going to happen.
Things get spread.
It can spread, and that's what it does. And I just kind of leave it, it disappears. It's fine. All right, here's our next via email. I have a Litten rose, helleborus, planted in a container on my patio in full shade. The leaves are turning brown along the edges. Am I watering too much or not enough? Should I cut off the bad leaves? It is a new plant. I just picked it up from the local nursery this spring. And this is from Brian right here in Memphis. Stephon, what do you think about that? What do you think that might be?
I'm thinking it could be overwatering. Because if she has that plant in the shade, then it may not actually be wicking the excess moisture fast as she thinks it is. Now, with these higher temperatures coming our way, she might want to pick up her watering after this is issues taken care of.
All right.
I agree. You know, when you see, that kind of injury on leaves, it's either too much water or too little water.
Right, right.
And I would, most folks overwater. Most folks,
Right.
most of the time with underwater, you'll see wilting occur
Yeah,
with that too. That's, I agree.
Right, I agree with that. And the thing about it is, you know, for the most part, you know, the leaf, it might get worse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's still some green tissue in there, so it may still be trying to go through the photosynthetic process. Yeah. But if it, you know, you continue to water too much or whatever, that leaf is probably going to die, and it'd be best to go ahead and take it off. Yeah, because it's not serving the plant any good.
No.
You know, at that point. So I do agree. Yeah, I think it might be too wet. And then, of course, it's in the full shade. If you're watering it too much, yeah, it's not going to have enough time to kind of absorb and dry out the way it should. So I would agree with that. So there you have it, Brian. Thank you for the question. Here's our next viewer email. I was going on a 2-day trip and came home to find my honeydew plants like this. We had a lot of rain while I was gone. Could this be from the rain, something else, or both? And this is from Miss Kathy in Old Hickory. All right. So Mr. D, she was gone for a couple of days, came back, it did rain, something else. How about a combination of both?
Yeah. Could be, looks very similar to the problem some of our cotton farmers see every once in a while called damping off.
Okay.
Damping off.
I didn't think about that, okay.
Which is soil organisms, soil fungi, Phytophthora and Pythium, a couple of the organisms that can cause that. And if it's wet and cool, if the soil temperature is a little cooler than normal, that's more likely to be a problem. Did we have a cool snap a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, so that's what, damping off. Is that what you think?
Damping off, I thought, because it almost looked like the plant collapsed. You know, it almost looked like that to me. So I actually thought about bacterial wilt.
Yeah, that too.
Because if you can have, because this is honeydews and a melon, so I'm thinking if you have like cucumber beetles or something feeding on the plant, you know, it actually transmits, you know, that you know, bacterial wilt.
Right, right, and if you snip the plant, you can touch the pieces together.
Oh, yeah,
If there's
okay.
a bacterial wilt, there should be some stringing that occurs when you touch it together and
Right,
pull it
right.
apart, and that'd be a good way to check that. And if it's bacterial wilt, there's not much you can do about it.
Right.
If it's just damping off, warm, dry conditions are going to be better, but the actual plants that are down are not,
Right.
you know, I don't know that they're going to survive.
Yeah, the one plant to me that was down looked like it collapsed, you know, to me, you know, from the picture.
But if
you
it's
know.
bacterial wilt, you just probably need to get that out of there, and you know, you don't want it to spread.
Sure. Yeah, you don't want that to spread. Yeah. All right, but yeah, just make sure you always inspect and examine your plants, Ms. Kathy, and hope that helps you out. All right. So, Mr. D. Stefan, we're out of time. All right. Thank you. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Need gardening advice? Go online to familyplotgarden.com. There are tons of videos from the show and links to extension publications from all over the country. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.